Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. Wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours, I hope you're having an absolutely awesome week. It's the weather's turned cold here, and if my teeth are chattering, you'll understand why, even though I've got the heater going. But it's our first really cold day of winter here, so we don't like that here on the Gold Coast. We prefer to be nice and warm and sunny and head to the beach. But anyway, we can't have summer all year round. So this week I want to focus on the Simply Tarot card of the week, and I've gone back to my original deck this week because I feel that we need to have some very clear power in the message that we're going to share with the Simply Tarot card of the week. And this week it's the Two of Wands. Now this card is very apt for the things that particularly are going on around the world, but more so for our brothers and sisters in the US than anywhere, I believe. Short journeys, movement to or near water. But the more advanced meaning of this card is the answers to the future may lay in the past events or happenings, and you have the world in the palm of your hand. So if you look at the more advanced meaning of looking back over to the past, that the answers to the past may have the answers to our future. So we need to delve back into history. We need to take a long, hard look at everything that's going on and understand you do have the world in the palm of your hand. So you do have the power to bring about change, and change that's probably so very desperately needed now. And it's not just for the coloured community in the USA. I feel that this is a worldwide, global problem. It's not just one country, one nation. It's a problem that reaches right around the globe. And this is why you're starting to see protests in other parts of the world like the UK, and we've had some here in Australia, and I'm sure there's others going on that I haven't had time to catch up on, because finally now we're saying this is unacceptable. We are not going to accept police brutality in any form, but more importantly, we're not going to accept it towards our Indigenous or coloured brothers and sisters. And I feel it is time that the world united behind this. So having said that, the focus of the show this week and the things that I'm going to talk about on an astrological level will be focused on that. We'll have a little rest from COVID-19 for it's just sort of gone off the headlines a little bit. And I'm not minimising the fact that COVID isn't still very rampant in the world, and we still need to be very vigilant and stay home and wash your hands and wear a mask and think of your brothers and sisters and not just yourself. But I'd like to go to the candle of the week first off. And this week I've chosen the candle of forgiveness. Now, I think that this is a very important message, as it sends a message to the world that we all need to start forgiving each other. We need to stop this nastiness that's going on in the world and start to forgive, not forget, but start to heal the world in some way. And the first step to that is to forgive, is to be able to find it within our heart, to be able to release that anger, that pressure, that tension, and sort of try and work towards some sort of amicable sort of solutions. But sometimes forgiveness is one of the hardest things that we can actually do in our lifetime. Now, for many, many years, I've worked with a lot of, very talented people from right around the world, and some of the world's best healers and psychics and so on. And they used to always say that forgive and forget, let go, release, remove this from your life and do that and you'll be a better person. And I came to my own personal realization, yes, we can find it within our heart to forgive somebody and to maybe try and see it from their point of view. We may not necessarily agree with it, but we can try and find it that we find some sort of middle ground. But I've come to the conclusion that we shouldn't forget. Even though we might release it and we might forgive that person, why should we forget the wrongdoings that have been done to us? It is part of our fabric. It's part of our history as a human being, as a nation, as a globe. Why should we forget the wrongs that have been done to us? And by the same token, why should we forget the good things that have happened in our lives either? History doesn't do that, and I don't think we necessarily need to forget ourselves. So having said that, the travel pack that I made up this week is of patience, my angel in the sky, which I'm going to feature for a very long time, I'm sure, with COVID-19, because that symbolises all the angels that we've lost that have passed over. And, the numbers are just too high to even begin to mention. And also the candle of forgiveness. Now, I think we need to bring more patience into the world. I think we can all do that. We can all show some way that we can be a little bit more patient, a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more understanding, and acknowledge our brothers and sisters that are in pain and understand that these situations are very important to each and every one of us. It doesn't matter the colour of your skin. Now, as I said, I'm going to focus astrologically on what's actually happening in the US because I think it's a very important topic. I mean, I'm not saying that COVID-19 is not important, but I think we've covered that fairly extensively astrologically. Now, the planets really haven't changed a lot in as much as, they don't move that fast. I mean, yes, we have some fast-moving planets, but overall things take time. And the sun is now in Gemini. Now, Gemini is the planet or the energy. Gemini is not a planet. Gemini is the energy of versatility, of, the twin sort of energy, one twin saying one thing, one twin saying another. Sometimes it's considered the good twin on one shoulder and the evil twin on the other. I think it's asking us to think outside the square. I think it's also asking us to be a little bit more compassionate, a little bit more understanding of everybody that is making a protest or trying to get their voice heard, whether it's the right or the wrong way to do it. And I'm not for 1 second condoning looting or violence in any way. I'm talking about people trying to get their voices heard, get the message out there that we will not tolerate this sort of violence against coloured people or any person for that matter. And we've got to stop police brutality in its tracks. And that goes for right around the globe, not just in the USA. So we've got the sun holding hands or conjunct Venus. Now, the sun is where we find our ego, our drive. This is what makes us get out of bed of a morning. This is where we're going to see anybody that's a native Gemini sort of come to the forefront at the moment and have lots of opinions and have lots to say. And I'm not going to point the finger at anybody that stood out in front of a church for a photo op, but we'll just leave that there. Is conjunct or holding hands with Venus. Now, Venus is the planet of love and affection. Now, Venus, the planet of love and affection, at the moment is going retrograde or backwards in the chart. So what this does, when we have a planet going backwards, we have the energy of that planet being very intensified, sometimes not always in the most stable sort of way, but the energy is certainly very electric. It's very intense. It's very ramped up. Now, Venus is the planet of where we look for the things that give us the most joy, the things that we love to do, the people that we love in our lives. We might hear a song on the radio and it fills our heart with joy, or it might fill our heart with sadness too, but it's more about focusing on the things that make us smile. Now, when you've got it going backwards like this, it's asking you to stand up for the things that you feel that are important to you, the things that make your heart sing. And this is why I think we're starting to see a lot of this protesting or having to try and get your voice heard, particularly over this, and so many people taking to the streets, that they sort of feel that they've got to stand up, they've got to sort of have their voice heard, they've got to take a stand, and they sort of feel it's their patriotic duty to do so. Whether they knew the person personally or not, it's not just that. I think it's a number of issues. That was what triggered the anger or triggered people to become passionate and want to stand up for their rights and sort of, have their voices heard. But I think there's many, many other layers underneath this, and COVID-19 would be one of them. I think it's also sort of talking about, that we need to have more respect for their role in society and what they contribute to the world, that everybody should be equal, no matter what your colour, what your race, what your religious background is, that we are all equal. We were all created equal and we should be treated that way. So this is where it gets interesting, where I've spoken many times about COVID and Pluto and, the role of Pluto in Capricorn takes on many different ways. But, yes, it is about government. It is about institutions. It is about somebody in authority. Now, Pluto's been in Capricorn now since about 2007, so it's not a new dance that Pluto's doing, but he's coming to near the end of his reign there in 2022. So when a planet is coming to near the end of its reign, and particularly a slow-moving one like Pluto, we see it manifest in many different ways. So Pluto is the planet of transformation. It's asking us to duck under the covers, to look at the hidden areas of our lives, go into those crevices, go into those hidden areas, those prickly areas that we don't normally want to look at, and asking us to complete and make changes. He's trying to share with us we can no longer walk around this planet the way we did once upon a time. Things are changing, whether we like it or not. The lessons that are learnt under Pluto are lessons that are never forgotten. So yes, because it rules big business, governments, those sort of things, and it's in Capricorn, so it's an earthy, practical sort of, we're looking for practical solutions. We're also looking for changes when it comes to money markets and how money is dispersed around the planet. And we're looking for a little bit more equality. So yes, it's brought in the COVID. It's also brought in, climate change and all those sort of things. And now we're seeing the masses of people taking to the streets and saying, I need to be heard. I'm standing up for my rights. How they choose to do that is a very personal thing. But when you've got this planet holding hands with Jupiter, the planet of opportunity, luck and expansion, but also uniting a globe. I always see Jupiter as a universal planet, is somebody that's sort of trying to unite the whole world. So these two are holding hands in Capricorn, so it's not surprising that when you turn on the news and you see that they're rioting or protesting in the UK, they're doing the same in Australia and probably many other parts around the world, uniting with our brothers and sisters in the USA, it's not such a shock. So those two planets are joined by their dear friend Saturn in Aquarius. Now, Saturn is the planet of discipline, waving the big stick, and he's sort of saying, well, okay, we've got to find some different ways of resolving this situation. Maybe we've got to think outside the square. Wouldn't it be nice if somebody actually listened to the people and tried to come to the negotiation table with some solutions instead of just this very strong arm tactic of I'm going to dominate and I'm going to squash you and I'm going to, squash you like an ant? Let's find some other creative ways of dealing with this. Now, the final part of my astrology that I want to talk about is the planet Chiron, or known as the wounded healer. Now, it's an area of astrology that a lot of astrologers tend to overlook because it's not sort of what's considered the more popular part of astrology. It's something that there hasn't been enough, probably, research and documentation of how Chiron works. And I suppose that's up to every modern day astrologer to look at how this might apply, how does it work, what are you seeing with your clients in your own chart work. Now, Chiron is actually in the sign of Aries at the moment. Now, Aries being the very first sign of the zodiac, and the Aries energy is fire, is me first, and did I say to you about me first? So it's not uncommon to see in these sort of instances where we're seeing people taking to the streets and protesting, feeling it as being a very selfish, self-centered, me first sort of energy. I've got to do this for me. It's about time I stood up for myself. It's about time that I turned around and said to the powers that be, I am not happy with the way this world's going and I'm going to take a stand. Now, sometimes those people that are very passionate and want to get their voices heard and want to make a stand like this, that sometimes that can sort of overspill into some of the things that we've seen in other factions or other groups get involved for the wrong sort of reasons and take it to a whole new level of violence and looting and things like that, which was not what the initial people that took to the streets initially was about. It was about wanting to be heard and saying this is not acceptable. So it doesn't surprise me from an astrological point of view that we've got this sort of the world uniting together in a protest and sort of saying we need to make changes as a world. We need to sort of look at things in a very, very different way at how we resolve issues, how we find resolution, how are we going to move forward and find some new rules as we, the world evolves and changes. We need to find different solutions at how we deal with the very real problems that surround our globe. So for those of you that, are involved in this or are, watching it glued to the television and sort of thinking, gee, I don't understand why they're doing this. Some people will be right behind them. Other people will say, I don't understand this. This is not the way to go about it. All I can say to you is this. These people that have come out into the streets, most of these people have never, ever, ever considered doing this before. but they've got to a point where they can't shove it down their throat any longer. That it's a point of no return, that they've all had to say, no, now's the time. I've got to stand up for my rights. I'm sick of this. Somebody has to listen. Yes, I'm sure there's other ways of doing this. And, I hear constantly a lot of authorities saying, we'll use this power, register to vote. Voting can help change things. Look, I'm not against that, and I'm not saying it doesn't work. Here in Australia, it's compulsory to vote, whether you want to or not. You don't get a choice. You've got to vote. That's the law. And I think in some ways that's maybe a good thing, because it does make people sort of stand up and be counted and sort of exercise their democratic right and say, I don't like you, I'm going to vote you out. And maybe that's what maybe needs to change in other parts of the world. Who knows? But what I'm saying is there's many different answers here. No one way is right. No one answer will fit all. And I think there needs to be a variety of solutions as the world starts to heal, and not just heal from this, but heal from COVID-19. And we need to address climate change. And there's so many things as a globe we need to be looking at. So we're going to talk to Carly in Cardiff in Wales in the UK. Are you there, Carly?
Yeah.
You have a question I can work with, please, Carly.
What's the rest of the year going to be like for me?
Okay, let's have a look at that for you, Carly. It's very, very interesting, because the first thing that they're showing me, Carly, is a couple of question marks there. So is there a couple of issues there that you've been questioning about, not sure which way to sort of move forward with?
Yeah.
Now, what they're showing me with those question marks is that I don't know that we've got all the information yet before we can make an answer. So what I'm going to ask you to do is be very flexible over the next couple of weeks. Be very aware of random thoughts or even silly thoughts that might come into your mind and think, well, what on earth's that got to do with anything? Just be aware of it, write it down maybe, because out of all of this, it's going to be like a jigsaw puzzle. We're going to find pieces to put into the puzzle, and all of a sudden it creates the pretty picture. I do feel in the second half of this year, things are going to start to move for you, particularly between August and September. It's sort of like that's when most of the changes are happening. Were you planning on either changing your residence, like moving things around or making some changes within the residence, or actually moving residence? Because I've got change within the home.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, but they were just sort of showing me, even if it's something as simple as moving a couple of pieces of furniture around, that's sort of like the start of the change of things sort of starting to move in bigger ways in your life. You might get out of bed one day and think, oh, I'm going to move that couch. I'm sick of it being there. It's annoying me. And you didn't plan to do it, but something sort of drives you to do it. Use that as your guidance of there's going to be change. So in one of these changes that you're looking to bring in, was there changes with a love relationship? Was there a relationship that's just finished, or you've been questioning whether or not this is right for you?
Well, I'm not in a relationship, so
no.
It hasn't been.
Okay, do you feel ready now to go into a relationship if you met the right person? Do you sort of feel like you've cleared all the past? Right, good.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were showing me that was coming in too. I got a beautiful big pink card, but I wasn't quite sure how to pull that in, because it was sort of like, well, I know it's there and I know I can have it. Do I want it? And that's why I hesitated to ask whether you were still in a relationship, because to me it was sort of like, well, it's been there all the time. You could have had it at any time, but that can just be that you're now ready to open your heart up. You know what you're looking for. I do feel that there's going to be a new romance coming in for you. Again, I'm going to say not before August or September, but I think there's certainly improvements with money, and whatever you're doing health-wise, I want to say keep it up, because you're doing the right thing. So that's where we're going to leave Carly. We're going to go to Jennifer in Emmett in Idaho. Are you there, Jennifer? Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Jennifer. How can I help you tonight, sweetie? You have a question for me?
I do. First off, this sounds like it's live on some type of like radio station or something, is it?
Yeah, it's a radio/video broadcast that goes around the world, Jennifer.
Oh, okay. I was kind of curious about my love life.
Okay. So anybody particularly special in your life at the moment, Jennifer, or are we looking for a new relationship?
Well, he was a part of my life, and then both of us kind of freaked out.
Right, okay. Because I still feel he's there. I don't feel that that situation is quite over yet. That's why I asked whether there was someone special sort of, dancing around the edges there, because I just don't feel he's actually completely gone. I do feel in the next month, I think there's going to be some fairly in-depth sort of conversations while the two of you decide what to do with this energy, to do with this connection between the two of you. I don't think either one of you are ready to let go of it, but he's got to be able to sort of overcome, I think, some areas of his past before we could sort of comfortably move forward with a relationship. And hence, that's where I think the question marks are for you. Is he ready? Is he ever going to be ready? And is this what he really wants? You know that there's an attraction there, but you don't want somebody coming into your life that you've got to constantly fix up to, make them right. They've got to do that themselves. So having said that, I'm going to say the jury's still out on whether or not that's the right relationship for you. My instincts tell me it's not, because I keep feeling towards the end of summer, your summer, there's going to be somebody brand new that's going to cross your path. That's somebody that's going to really catch your eye, and you're going to think, wow, where did he come from? Do you know, if I could sit down and write a book and in a book of everything that I wanted in a relationship, well, I could go tick, 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 tick with this one. And it makes the one that's sort of sitting on the edges at the moment look like, oh dear, why did I invest so much energy into that, knowing in my bottom of my heart it was never going to be right. But sometimes we need to do that so that we clearly know that when we do move forward, we've moved forward and we haven't left anything undone or not completed. So don't ever look at something as being a mistake, Jennifer. Always look at it that there's a reason why these things are happening. And sometimes it's just purely karmic. It's sort of past life work that we haven't completed, that we've got to come back, have another look at it, do a few sums, do a few alterations, and then it's complete and we can say, well, we can shut the door on that. So also I was picking up, Jennifer, that you've had a lot of disappointment this year. Has there been sort of like a real realization that some people aren't who they portrayed themselves to be, and you've seen them for who they truly are, and that's been a bit of a disappointment? Is that what this year's been about for you?
Absolutely. I don't know. Everything changed when my father passed in October. I just kind of taken a step back and really looked at the people around me, and I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, but that's a good thing, Jennifer. I mean, sometimes that does coincide with us losing a loved one. Sometimes it's just coincidental that was the timing that happened. But to me, it was very clear around you from about late January to now. It's like every day has been a realization of, wow, I didn't know that person was like that, or I didn't see them that way. And it's like, can I have been so stupid? The answer to that is, you're definitely not stupid, Jennifer. Now is the time for you to see things clearly. And I believe there's always a timing factor in things that, we go so far along and then all of a sudden, like somebody turns the lights on and we see everything very clearly, and we see it through different eyes that we didn't see before. And that can sometimes coincide with a life event like the passing of someone really close to us, or, us making changes in our lives for whatever reason. But understand it always happens at precisely the right time. And this is also to get you ready for the new love that's coming into your life. You don't want to go into a new, powerful, dynamic relationship with somebody with the old Jennifer. Do you know what I mean? You've shed old parts of yourself. You've become so much stronger in readiness for this new life that's unfolding. When your dad passed, was that quite sudden?
Actually, he got sick when I was 8, but him really going downhill was like in a matter of weeks. I mean, legit, like 3 weeks.
Yeah, because he was saying to me, I was here 1 minute and gone the next. That's why I assumed it was sudden. But let me assure you, he's happy. He's accepted the fact that he's gone. He loves you. He's around you, and he's the one that's picking your new partner for you. He knows what you need.
Thank you.
And he just said, like he doesn't want to see tears, sweetheart. He wants to see tears of happiness, not tears of sadness anymore. And that's really important to him because you certainly were the center of his universe and you always will be. But he's helping you sort of see things and see through people and events and giving you a wisdom that I don't know that he would have shared with you while he was here on earth because he didn't like upsetting people. Now he sort of feels he's got to give you and share this wisdom with you so that you can have a very fulfilled life and you won't feel as if you're missing anything. So just know that he loves you and he's with you every second of every day, my darling, and guiding you and holding you, and he knows what you need. So just have a conversation with him. He's always there and he loves you. Anyway, Jennifer, that's where we've got to leave it. We've come to the end of the show. So for those people that have lost somebody this year or, in recent times, it's always hard. It's always difficult and they are always with us. I haven't had anyone come through from the other side that didn't tell me that they weren't happy, they weren't settled, they weren't well. Yes, they miss us all and they always will. But just know that they are always with you. They are with you each and every day. And please light a candle for those people that we've lost, for people that have lost somebody around the world. And please just keep everybody in your hearts. Try and use the word forgiveness this week. Try and be forgiving. Try and be a little bit more understanding of the people in your lives and the things that they may be going through. So until next week, bye for now.